It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast, with good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the future that you dream of. This is episode number 1, the very first one. I am so excited. We've been working on this project all year long. We're finally launching. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I can't wait to share the journey with you. But today, I thought we better start with why. Why do we need another podcast about investments and finance and insurance? And why me? You can listen to Dave talk about debt and Tony talk about investments and Kiyosaki talk about real estate. Why listen to me? Well, I've got a personal story I'll share with you that I think will help answer that question. But before we get into today's hot topic, I do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and I come across a lot of fascinating financial articles and headlines. So I thought we would take a minute and look at some news. I came across this article in Yahoo Finance, and the headline is, "The average American uses 3 rolls of toilet paper each week, and it's devastating forests." Of course it is. That's a lot of toilet paper. The article says that the U.S. consumes more toilet paper than any other country in the world, 3 rolls per week per person, or 141 rolls per year. So this story was a call to action against the largest toilet paper makers in America to use more recycled materials. The U.S. toilet paper market is worth $31 billion per year, each year here in the U.S., which is a lot of toilet paper. But this really has me asking a few questions. First, how do you get this job? Does it pay well? Where do you apply? Are there competitive benefits like all of the free toilet paper that you can use? I don't know, but I'm curious. The second and probably more important question is, how can this really be true? 3 rolls per person per week seems like an astronomically high number. Are people using their toilet paper for napkins? Does this study include toddlers who are, making themselves into mummies? I don't know, but I want to find out. This podcast is about doing and experimenting, and that's exactly what's about to happen. I am about to find out for sure on my own how much toilet paper the average American really uses in a week. This is my roll of toilet paper. There are many like it, but this one is mine, and this is the only one I will use for the next week. So we'll find out just how much the average American uses, at least one man's opinion. Now, stay tuned, because in episode 3, we're going to be talking about easy ways to free up some extra money and put that money to use, and I'll be sharing my results with you then. If you want to read the article in the meantime, you can do so by checking out the link in the show notes.
And here's today's top story.
All right, so why this podcast? There are thousands of money and finance podcasts out there on everything from investing and budgeting and debts and retirement and side hustles. There are no lack of podcasts to choose from around every possible financial topic that there is. Well, here's something that I've learned throughout my life and my career of helping clients figure out their own finances and their own insurance. All of these different pieces of the puzzle fit together. They need to work together to make your individual, personal money puzzle. If you're missing a piece here or there, it can end up ruining your whole puzzle. So we need to look at all of the different pieces that go together. Think about it like Christmas break, and you sit down with the kids, you break open the box of that 500-piece puzzle so you can spend the day putting it together. You get to the end and you find out that 2 pieces are missing. You can't complete the picture. What do? If you're like me, you throw that whole damn thing in the trash because the puzzle is ruined because the picture can't be completed. The same thing can and does happen with people's finances and their money. So we want to look at how all of these things work together and go together. And again, we're not just going to listen and learn, we're going to do. We're going to be sharing different money experiments with you, and we're going to be doing them as well so you can see our results. Now, this podcast is for the normal, everyday person who wants to have a more financially confident future, who wants to figure out their money and their finances. We're on this journey with you, and we're still continuing on our own path. We want to do it together. That's why we're launching this podcast. But why me? Sure, I'm a fiduciary, I'm an investment advisor, an asset manager. I know about things like taxes and insurance, but lots of people know those things. What makes me different? Well, let me tell you my background, and that might help answer that question. You've probably heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, growing up, I had what I call rich week, poor week, or upper middle class week and lower class week. You see, my parents divorced when I was 10. And they split custody 50-50, so every Friday I would transfer back and forth between mom's house and dad's house. Now, I had more love for my parents than most. I had an amazing childhood full of great memories. My mom cooking us breakfast in the morning and us playing games at night, taking these awesome trips and going on adventures with my dad. But I had two very different lifestyles from week to week. My mom had remarried, and my stepdad didn't make all that much money. And from a financial perspective, we were poor. We shopped at Goodwill and Kmart for our school clothes. My folks shared a car. Sometimes we had to hitchhike home if it broke down. While we were waiting for our double-wide trailer to arrive, we lived in a little tow-behind trailer for a while. The house was full of love. We just had no money 2 weeks of the month. The other 2 weeks of the month at my dad's house, I thought that we were rich. I had my own bedroom. My dad had 2 cars and a motorcycle. We went on family vacations. We did our back-to-school shopping at the mall. I felt like we were rich when in reality we were upper middle class. But here's what I knew. There was a big difference between how it felt from having money and not having money. My dad also owned his own business, so he had some time freedom that I really appreciated. And I wanted to figure out in my own life how to make sure that I did not grow up not having that money. So I started earning money as early as I could. I made things to sell at school. I mowed lawns and I shoveled driveways. I had a newspaper route. I was always fascinated with money and how it worked and how to earn more. I was always an entrepreneur at heart. Then at 18, I started up my very own first business, which failed. Then at age 19, I opened up a magic store. I actually had a name tag that read Robert Edgin, Master Illusionist. The only problem was I didn't know how to do magic, and the only thing that disappeared was my money. Also at 19, I started working in my dad's insurance agency, in addition to these other things that I was doing. And at that same time, my now wife, who was my then girlfriend, got pregnant. It was an accident, but a wonderful one. But here's the deal. I was smitten with this hot chick, and I knew that I needed to make money for the life that I wanted to live and the family that I wanted to support. So when I was 19, the insurance company that my dad represented actually offered me my very own agency. And for a time, I was the youngest Allstate agent in the country. By the time I was 20, I had won my first company trip, which was awesome, except I was too young to buy beer on that trip, so I had to ask other agents to sneak it for me. But we had a great time. I looked successful. I felt successful. I was making more money than I had ever made. But here's the problem. Making a lot of money and being good with money are two very different things. You see, I felt like I had earned the right to live a certain lifestyle. I felt like I deserved to buy and own certain things. The truth is, I was too big for my britches, but I was not too big to fail. And fail is what I did again. In my early 20s, I had to file bankruptcy. I almost lost my marriage. I had to get some things figured out. So that's what I did. I knew that I needed to make a change. I needed to live a more sustainable life where I was better with my money and I had more control over my finances. So in the year 2000, I really changed my focus and made the shift to the financial side of my life, to the financial side of my industry. And I added that business component to my business, and I committed myself to figuring out the financial puzzles that we all face every day. Investments, budgeting, taxes, all the things that people think are boring, I love. Now, I still screwed things up. I still struggled to make ends meet sometimes. I still was human, but I kept working at it. I kept learning and I kept earning and I kept growing. And now, many moons later, I've got multiple successful businesses. I save and invest for retirement. I own multiple rental properties. I still know that I've got a lot to learn and a lot of growing to do, but now I get to work with clients all day, every day, and help them to avoid the same mistakes that I made and help them benefit from the things that I have learned on my journey along the way. I love teaching because teaching helps you learn things twice. So I'm excited to share these new ideas and tips and tools with all of you in a new format through the podcast. I hope that you'll get as much out of this podcast from listening to it as I do from teaching it. And I hope that we can spend this journey together, growing and improving our financial lives and adding that financial confidence that all of us deserve. That's it for this episode. I've got a special guest who will be joining me next week, and I hope that you'll join me too. Also, starting next week, I'll be answering questions from clients and listeners. So if you've got a question about your own personal money puzzle, email us at questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. You can join us online as well. All of our social media info is in the show notes. It's also on our website. Until next week, be safe, have a little bit of fun, and do something to improve your money puzzle.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc., Edge Insurance and Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning, Inc. are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing, which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.